I would like to start by saying that February is my birthday month. I am a Aquarius with a capital A. And so as a Black woman, also born in February, take these recommendations seriously. Like, who else is more qualified? Probably a lot of people, but I am somewhat qualified to speak on Black book recommendations for Black History Month. That's my little disclaimer. Hello, my name is Sarah and this is the Book Binge. Welcome. Today we are talking about my recommendations for Black History Month. I love Black History Month because, as I said prior, it is my birthday month. It's actually all of my siblings' birthday months. It's my sister's and my brother's. So we just have a good time in February. And this year for my birthday, I'm very excited to celebrate. But on top of that, I love it as a great excuse to further share some of the amazing Black voices and authors that I think everyone should read, regardless of what your race, ethnicity is. I do want to mention like my identity because I think although this channel is fairly new, understanding how my identity intertwines with what I read is very important and may give insight to why I read certain books, or I guess gravitate towards certain books. Because if you watch my last video where I was trying to read Project Hail Mary, yeah. So basically, I am an African American woman. I don't know much about my ancestry except for that my father's side of the family came from New Orleans and moved to Illinois, and then my mother's side of the family has always kind of been, well, I guess not always, is primarily in Illinois. I was born in Illinois and then lived in Wisconsin, terrible time, for the majority of my life, and then moved to North Carolina. So I've been here for a while and do consider myself a Southerner because basically I love sweet tea. That's what I feel like is the determining factor of if you are a Southerner or not, is if you love you some sweet tea. So yeah, that I think is just interesting background for, I feel like really describes a lot of the books I read, especially if you like understand my love for Toni Morrison and Akwaeke Emezi. That pretty much writing on the wall. But yeah, let's get into Black History Month and honestly, just why I think everyone should celebrate Black History Month, regardless of where you live. I think some people have a poor understanding of what Black History Month is and its purpose. I feel like we've heard several times from several people that they don't understand why this is like a celebrated thing. And to me, it's simply to celebrate the accomplishments and achievements and contributions of Black people in America. I think having months dedicated to appreciating certain groups is good to better the understanding and appreciation for cultural differences. I think educating yourself on other groups is great for fostering a community of cultural community and having a better understanding of the different experiences that other groups can go through. And that's like, for example, like why Women's History Month, which I think is in March, is really important. Hispanic History Month, like there's so many different things you can celebrate throughout the year. So yeah, I think it's just a great way to understand different perspectives, especially if they're different than your own. For example, if you grew up in Idaho and in a predominantly white community and never leave that community, which is fine, like it's a way for you to expose yourself to other individuals that you normally in your day-to-day would never run into. And I think that's very important, to read all different types of backgrounds and perspectives to better educate yourself on how other people live their lives. Because of course, I think it leads into how you create your views. And so understanding other people's views is just a little step anyone can do to have greater appreciation of the different cultures that are in America. So let's get into this. Before I really wanted to go into my recommendations, I want to start by talking about the publishing industry. I watched a phenomenal movie last month called American Fiction. Apparently, American Fiction is based on the book Erasure. So I'm considering going back and reading that. But if for those of you who have not seen the movie, it is about a man, Monkey. Ooh, what was his name? Monkey? Mookie. I think it was Mookie. Editing Sarah here to apologize. His name was Monk, Monk. I don't know why I was off. I think that was his nickname. Anyway, so his name was Mookie, and he was a writer, and he primarily wrote like Greek literature, it appeared, and was successful but not super successful. In the midst of trying to write another book, he wanted to give a big like middle finger to the publishing industry and write a book that was as stereotypical as he could make it about the how people view that aren't black, how people view the black experience. He got this idea after seeing how a different black writer, played by Issa Rae, my queen, wrote a book that he felt had no sustenance other than just pushing a narrative of what all black people live by, and that for some reason was like just filled with trauma, but white people loved eating it up, giving her money, fame, movies, all those things. And so he was like, I just feel like I can't win in this industry. I'm going to give them what they want. And so he wrote this book. The name I can't say, but he wrote this book, and it was, I think, just about like someone, a black man in a very rough situation intertwined with gangsta life is what we will refer to it as, and daddy issues, mommy issues, drinking issues, self-identity, like just like the stereotype. And so he wrote this book, told his agent to send it to the publishers that they worked with, and to his surprise, he thought they were going to see the irony in the book he wrote, but to his surprise, they ate it up. They loved his book. We're offering him insane amount of money to publish it. We're already getting a movie in the works, and this is where we find where Mookie starts to really struggle, because on top of all the things he has going on in his personal life, he is grappling with the fact that, like, is this what success is for a black writer? To write stories that are ingenuine, not relating to their real experience, just really what the people want. And by the people, I mean white people. This movie was phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you see it. It has my queen also, Tracee Ellis Ross, who, when I say I love her so much, she is my favorite individual on this earth. She's in that movie. So you should see it because the cast is just amazing. The acting was amazing. I think too, they had like a subplot about him and his family struggles that was just as important as what it was saying about publishing in America. I think you should see it. It was amazing commentary on the publishing industry in America. Another book I would recommend, oh my gosh, is The Other Black Girl. I read this a while back, and they actually ended up making it a TV show on Hulu, I believe. The Other Black Girl was about a black woman working in the publishing industry. So you follow our main character, Nella, who is working in the publishing industry and frequently disgruntled by how whitewashed it is and how there's such a lack of diversity, and gets excited when a new person is hired, another black woman is hired in the same publishing industry, and seeks having a friendship with this woman. However, at the same time, consequentially, she starts to get threats telling her she needs to leave. And so after a while, Nella's like, what's going on? I'm feeling like you're not on our side. I feel like something is amiss, that this is Black people against Black people, and there's an eeriness to it. It's a very good book. I think I have in the past made like a TikTok review about it. The ending was not as satisfactory as I wanted it to be, but I think in the same way that American Fiction did, it did an amazing job showing you what is the publishing industry like. It is very predominantly white, and they are just now, as you can tell by these two works, starting to have those conversations of why is it that for such a long time we would only publish Black books about X, Y, and Z? Why was it we weren't publishing things outside of those confines? And I think over time, like, definitely it has gotten better, but there was a time when the only books that publishers were pushing were primarily about Black trauma, and primarily about like just like not all Black people. As I've said prior, there are a diverse range of experiences that Black individuals go through here in America, Black people go through all over the world. It's diverse. It's not just one. It's not just what you've seen on TV or in the media. So why is it that so many books are about X, Y, and Z? Food for thought. Sit on that. And my solution, as I said prior, is to continue to consume and amplify Black voices. Read other perspectives, and you can see how diverse that is, because there are so many amazing writers today that we can support and consume and show that there is other books that people want to read. So that's my little like food for thought section. That's my little food for thought. Now let's get into our recommendations. The first book I would like to recommend is Heavy by Kisi Layman. I have already talked about this book on my page, in which I just did a deep dive on this author because I love Southern Gothic contemporary literature, and top of the game is Kisi Layman. Heavy is, as the title kind of describes it, a super heavy book. I will definitely put several trigger warnings in the corner, but this book focuses on a myriad of things: his relationship with his mother, his relationship with his weight. So in the terms of this book being named Heavy, amazing, because it's about both the heaviness of the Black male experience in America and like his own heaviness and dealing with that. It goes into his addiction and overall challenges of being a Black man in America. I would 10 out of 10 recommend this. This was, for one, a very quick read for me because it was so good but so profound. Like, not every book I read hits me like this did. And if you want a book that will stay with you for a while, not in terms of like heaviness, lol, but in terms of, wow, that was an amazing writer, and two, that was an amazing story that he told through his writing, that would be Heavy. 10 out of 10. This is a 10. Read it. Recommendation 1. Recommendation 2 is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I think another little background context for why I love this book is that I am actually an alumni from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and this book takes place there. So when I read this, it hit so close to home. It was amazing. So what is the book about? Let me back up. You're following a young woman. It's kind of a coming of age story. You're following a young woman named Bree Matthews as she enters an early college program at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, UNC. When I was at UNC, I don't think they had this program, but either way, in the book there is. And shout out, they should take some notes, UNC Board of Trustees. I'm telling you, they should do that. So she joins this early college program right after the unexpected death of her mother. She's in this early college program when she somehow discovers a secret magical society. Ah, isn't that amazing? Like, let me just leave it at that. She finds a secret magical society in at UNC and somehow finds her way intertwined with it, if not the focal point of it. The society she discovers is called Legendborn, and it is heavily tied with the legend, or I guess in this case, not legend, of King Arthur. You know, King Arthur and the round table with the knights. She somehow gets intertwined with that. Apparently, that legend did happen, and they are at universities across America and manage the evilness in the world. So it's definitely giving Harry Potter, but if Harry Potter was black and had to go through the typical black person at a PWI experience. Heavy on that, because the way she intertwines this book being just a fantasy story with the real experience of being a black individual at a PWI. And a PWI, for those who don't know, is a predominantly white institution. It's an institution, your average institution you think of, where the population is predominantly white. In contrast, there are universities that are called HBCUs, historically black UHB colleges and universities. And so HBCUs are predominantly black and historically black, and that they were made during the time in which black people couldn't attend normal university. So there was a time when people could not attend, black people like myself could not attend UNC. So instead we would go to other universities like A&T, which is also in North Carolina. So I loved this book. I think if you're looking for a fun fantasy story that is a little bit deeper than just the surface level fantasy story, I would read this. It was amazing. The second book is out already. I read this book in one day, just for context. And if you look at it, it's thick. It's a thick book. And I read this in one day and it was amazing. So yes, recommendation number 2 is Legendborn. All right, my last recommendation is Homegoing by Ya Ghazi. I will check that. Is Homegoing. Homegoing, I was told to read by my roommate. Shout out Fawoda. This story has probably had the biggest, 2 books have had 2 profound impacts on my life. Educated and Homegoing. Homegoing spans multiple generations of 2 sisters from their ancestral journey from Ghana in the 18th century to present day. You follow the 2 sisters, one of which gets stolen and sold into slavery, and you follow her generation's line in America, and the other remains in Ghana. You get to see the 2 sisters and their descendants in parallel, which is a very interesting contrast to see of like what happened to the black people that went through slavery versus the ones that stayed, because they both went through their own types of trauma, and how generational trauma can be present to people today. If you want an amazing story about the historical injustices and the legacy of slavery, I would read Homegoing. This was a very heavy book for me to read. I think it did take me a while to get through just because it was that story of like so many black people's ancestors. Like when I say like I don't know where my family was prior to Louisiana, that's the story of a lot of African Americans. And in the same stroke, like our brothers and sisters are Africans. And so just understanding, like, especially now that there is a prevalent and increasing population of African immigrants to America, like understanding how our stories connect in many ways is super important. So with all of that, I will kind of conclude and just leave you with these 3 recommendations. Once again, we got Heavy We got Legend Born and we got Homegoing. Those are the three. It's my birthday wish. It's my birthday wish that you read these three and come back in the comments and tell me what you think. But for anyone out there, allies, not allies, who are watching this, that just kind of wanted some recommendations, I hope you like this video. I encourage you to always read diverse authors. And that's kind of it. Yeah. Happy Black History Month, y'all. Happy Aquarius season. Happy birthday to my brother Elijah and my sister Rachel. Bye.